All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. Hey there, students. We are doing a little live stream, a little Q&A. I should be streaming on both Crowdcast and YouTube. If you are seeing this on my YouTube channel, go ahead and look in the description. There should be a link to join us in Crowdcast for the Q&A. So you want to be here actually participating in the Q&A, go ahead and click that Crowdcast link. Of course, you are also more than welcome to continue just watching on YouTube if you want, but you really should come and join us on Crowdcast and participate. Now, with that, let me make sure that this thing is actually streaming on YouTube. Okay, so I want to make sure that that's happening. Just give me just a second. Okay, yes, we are actually on YouTube, so that's going on there. We've got this here. Okay, excellent, excellent. Hey there, everybody. Make sure I'm going to go ahead and put this link in the chat as well. It's in the video description. Join us on Crowdcast. Okay, so coming into Crowdcast, that's where you're going to actually be able to participate in the chat, ask questions. I'm not really going to be looking at the YouTube chat, except for right now. I see Jillian and I see Georgia. Okay, but go ahead and come on in and go ahead and ask questions. Once you've joined us here in Crowdcast, go ahead and ask some questions. And then I'm going to be joined by my friend John from Marco Learning. He's going to, talk with us for a little bit and also show off the new Marco Learning AP European History course that has a bunch of new videos from yours truly that are aligned with the new AP European History course and exam description CED for 2019. So let's go ahead. Once you get in the Crowdcast, you can go to ask a question and you can ask any question you want. Okay. So as far as that goes, let's go ahead and get some questions out there. Okay. Waiting on some questions. Anything to do with AP European history, y'all go ahead and get those out there. Come on, folks. All right, bye, Tom. Got to do homework. All right, so we'll see what happens there. All right, come on, y'all. Waiting on these questions. I tell you what, while we wait for questions, I'm going to go ahead and let's invite my friend John to join me so he can talk to us a little bit about Marco Learning and what Marco Learning's got to offer the people of the AP European History community. So let's see here. And meanwhile, we're going to want y'all asking some questions. So while we're waiting on more questions, let's go ahead and see if John can join us. We're going to invite John on screen. And while we're here, y'all can ask whatever questions y'all have got for AP Euro, and I'm going to be answering them during the broadcast. All right, John is connecting. Okay, John's connecting. He should be here very, very shortly. Okay. Crowdcast.
There I am.
Looking for Grayson. Okay, there is John. Hey, John, how are you?
How's it going?
Oh, going well, going well. Just good to be here. And John, I've been working with Marco Learning this year. This is my first year working with Marco Learning. John is the founder of Marco Learning. So before anything else, some people here might not have heard of Marco yet. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about this this company that you've got me on board with.
Yeah, so Marco Learning is all about AP prep. So we have video-based courses for AP US history, AP European history, and AP English language. And then later this fall, Tom, you and I are working on AP US government, and we are not working on AP English lit, which is not apparently one of your subjects that you work on. So we're going to be, by this point, by around Thanksgiving or so, early part of Christmas, we're going to have 5 different courses. So if you're in any of those things, and that's Dakota, that's Zane, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining. And yeah, so what we do is we're like kind of like test prep books, except we're not a book, right? They're video based, they're fully online, and they just fit into your lifestyle. And that's all we focus on. So I spent 16 years of my teaching career at the Princeton Review, where we focused a lot on SAT and ACT. People were taking PSAT today. That's not what we do. We're all about AP. And that's why it's so much fun working with Tom, because Tom, you're all about AP, right? You've been helping students for many years with AP US History, AP Euro, AP Gov. And I just saw on your YouTube channel, your most recent AP US citizenship test.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun. So at our website at marcolearning.com, you can see courses. Tom has and I have been working on the AP European History course. Tom covers all the content that you need for all 9 units in like the fastest. It was really incredible actually working with you, Tom, because you could sit in front of a camera and in 15 minutes out of your Tom Ritchie mind pull out the entire course and exam description and all the textbooks and bring that stuff to life. And so between that and what we have with the full length practice tests, we've got great resources. So I'll be curious to see what everyone's questions are, and I'm happy to show everyone what we've been doing. And I can't wait to work with you, Tom, on U.S. government, because
Yeah,
that's be an adventure.
looking forward to that. So yeah, so Marco Learning currently has courses in AP US History, AP European History, AP English Language, and we will be moving into AP Government pretty soon. So with that, and also MarcoLearning.com. Okay, so if you wanted more information, go to marcolearning.com. Now with that, let me go ahead and see some questions out here. Now John, Logan's got a study question. Now those of you in Crowdcast, remember you can not only ask questions, but you can also upvote other people's questions. John, I'm going to refer this to you because John has a background in test prep and tutoring. John, Logan wants to know, what's the best way to study for chapter tests?
For chapter tests in your class?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the first answer to that is you've got to study around what you know works for you. So one of the biggest mistakes my students make is they'll say, well, everyone says I need to use Quizlet. Well, maybe, right? If you're good at Quizlet and if that's the way you study, do it. Other people are really good at flashcards. Other people will like binge watch YouTube videos. So I think know yourself. Think about the last time you successfully crammed for AP Bio or for calculus or for something. What worked. And then I think you almost want to study your teacher a little bit, right? Like at least with AP, Tom and I know the College Board. We know what the tests look like every year. Every teacher's weird and different. Some teachers dust off like College Board official like test prep kind of or test stuff. Other people will take stuff out of the textbook. So almost, and this is a great skill for college. I always tell this to my college students, like, study your professors one by one and look to kind of work into their workflow. So, I mean, that's not maybe a great answer, but it's kind of a good starting point. Know yourself, know your teacher or your professor, and that's going to help you prepare. It also helps just remember, like, start early. Is your test in 12 hours? What are you doing on YouTube right now? Get off, go study now, and go back in the time machine and study 3 days ago when you should have studied the first time. So start early, know yourself, know your teacher. That's some general advice. But if you've got something more specific, let me know, and I'm happy to follow.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that a lot of people think that there's some kind of like magic pill that'll work for everybody. Now, one thing that I was going over with some of my students today is that it helps to actually write things down when you study. A lot of students today are hesitant to write things down. And, you know, just remember that it's the same as with doing readings for homework, that it's not about I read something, it's about what you retain. And so the main thing is, you know, just like with most of the books, I know with the AMSCO books, for example, at the end of the chapter, you see this list of key terms. And when you see that, it's like, go through that list of key terms and do I know what this is? I mean, that's the big thing. Like, could I explain this to somebody? You know, actually maybe get a parent to ask you about some of these things. Tell me about this. And if you can't speak intelligently about it, you probably need to go back to the drawing board. So, but the biggest thing is finding the thing that works for you. Like a lot of times we think, okay, it's going to work the same for everybody. It's not. And you're going to have to try different things and figure that out. And so going from that, let's go ahead and get into Kant's view on the Enlightenment. Okay, so Emma, what you're thinking about, you're probably thinking about Immanuel Kant's essay, What is Enlightenment? And actually, if you type in Kant, What is Enlightenment into YouTube, you'll see my video on that, where I'm basically going through that. I think it's about a 20-minute video. I cover it pretty thoroughly. It's a primary source document. And the main thing about this is really Kant is kind of defining the Enlightenment as an escape from nonage or non-age. Okay, basically that we think about this, and I've actually been watching videos by this guy, Dr. Bruce Lipton. If you want to get like your mind blown, go check this guy out, because he starts talking about like the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, and how your subconscious is basically like your animal programming and the oldest parts of your brain, and it makes up like 19 out of 20 of your thoughts are subconscious. And of course, we might be getting into Marco's AP psychology here a little bit, John. But the thing is that the subconscious is so powerful, And most people are basically on autopilot. It's like, unless you're making an effort at consciousness and to live consciously, then most of your life is just basically like a tape playing. And Kant is talking about this, that most people just never question anything that happens to them, anything they're taught. They go through life. I actually heard somebody complaining today, like about, just how is it that people can do this job every day, this repetitive job that's the same thing every day, and not be completely miserable? How does someone do that? But most people are able to. It's only a few people who ask these kinds of questions. And so Kant is saying that, like, look, sapere aude, dare to know, that you should actually think about like questioning things that happen and seek knowledge. And another thing of the Enlightenment is the promotion of freedom. Okay, so as far as, especially when it comes to academic freedom and religious freedom, religious toleration is a big theme of the Enlightenment. The idea that people should not be forced to support or attend a particular church. So that is a bit about Kant. For a deeper analysis, go ahead and watch my video, Kant, What is Enlightenment? Now, John, the next one here is, getting close to your specialty on the Middle Ages. So George is asking, how would you compare and contrast the religious uniformity of Mary the First and Elizabeth the First worked out in England? Okay, so Mary the First versus Elizabeth the First in England.
Yeah, so if you want me to take that, a couple of interesting things about this. Mary, just a couple superficial things. Mary has a reign that's much shorter, that's much more tenuous. She does not really have a grip on England the way that Elizabeth does over what? Elizabeth has 40 years of rule. Elizabeth also has this more complicated evolution, right? Where she has different advisors telling her to do different things over the years. She's cracking down on the Catholic Church and then kind of pulling back. Whereas Mary is what? How long did Mary reign? Like 7 years, 6 years? And her reign is much more consistently about trying to turn back Catholicism, or trying to turn back rather Protestantism, in just a few years. So you have a couple of superficial things that anchor it. Elizabeth's longer reign means you have a much more complex view. You have more, in a sense, more periods of religious toleration. But when you look at the martyrdom accounts, for example, when Bloody Mary is killing Protestants and Bloody Elizabeth is killing Catholics, you see a lot of consistency, almost a kind of mirroring of what persecution of Catholics look like versus persecution of Protestants. So I would look at those things. I would look at the actual like political power they held for a long period of time. I would look at the complexity of their relationship with their religions. Mary is just consistently Catholic and consistently cracking down, whereas Elizabeth goes through these different phases. And then I would look at the persecution. Both of them and lots of people in the early modern period are good at killing people. But they're doing it in these different ways. And Tom, when you teach Mary and Elizabeth, what are some of the key kind of differences? Because I think the question's about religious uniformity. Is that right?
Yeah, now that would be one thing. We talk about comparison in AP classes. We're thinking about similarities and differences. So first of all, Mary and Elizabeth, obviously a Protestant, Mary a Catholic. Now we also want to note the particular type of Protestantism, because when Elizabeth comes in, basically the Elizabethan religious settlement is about, okay, they both want religious uniformity. Like Mary said, everybody's going to be Catholic, burned about 300 Catholics at the stake. Now, when I'm teaching this, I tend to talk about, how when we were little and we'd go in the bathroom and say Bloody Mary like 7 times in front of the mirror or whatever. But the thing is that both of them insisted on religious uniformity, that if you have to be this religion. So Mary was Catholic, Elizabeth was Protestant. But then at the same time, we also want to note in terms of Elizabeth's Protestantism. And that's, of course, something that separates Anglicanism from the rest of the Reformation. Whereas when you look at the continent, at Luther, at Calvin, at the Anabaptists, they're making meaningful changes to the church, especially people like Calvin and the Anabaptists. So they're making these meaningful changes in doctrine, but really when it comes down to it, that the Church of England, especially after the Elizabethan settlement, because Elizabeth was trying to take people who in England who were Catholic or Catholic leaning. Remember, the Pilgrimage of Grace is something that happened during Henry's reign, where there was a big protest against Henry's decision to leave the Catholic Church. And so what Elizabeth says is we're going to be Protestant, but it's going to be kind of like Protestant, wink, wink, that the church is going to be pretty much in appearance and most other things like the Catholic Church, but it's going to be a Protestant church. Now, the thing is, this is going to be one of those things you try to please everybody, you please nobody, because in the next unit, that's when you run into the Puritans and separatists, these English Calvinists who say, we don't want a Protestant church. We want an actual Protestant church, you know, with burning all of the pictures and smashing the statues and wearing you know, really weird clothes and stuff like that. So that's what's going to come out of that. But yeah, so basically one's Catholic, one's Protestant, but they both insisted on religious uniformity. And then that's going to be something that's going to eventually lead to the English Civil War, because the Puritans and separatists, the English Calvinists, they're not going to like where this is going. And hey, Mirza. So John, with that, we're going now. What I see here, we're going to have to be a little more specific. Walt Brown. Walt Brown says in all caps, the Reformation. 3 exclamation marks.
Great. Do we have an hour? Is that?
Yeah, I know that's. But with that, John, why don't we, you know, while we've got you here and we've got our, you know, we're here with 19 of our closest friends right now. Let's hear a little bit about Marco Learning in this new AP Euro course.
Yeah, sure. So it's really exciting. The AP Euro course that's available on our website, marcolearning.com, stars these two faces that you're looking at right here, Tom and me. And I've been a test prep teacher and tutor for the last 17 years. Tom has been a legend from birth. And we are focusing on both the content you need to cram for the exam and get ready for that, and the test prep strategies that are going to help you. But it's not just about like the exam in May, it's about all through the school year, right? We've got midterms and exams, and all year long at Marco Learning, Tom and I are going to be doing exclusive live online events for our students. So you can go to marcolearning.com, and what's great is for the next few days, if you, and I'll type this here in this box here, if you use this code, Marco50, you can get 50% off of Tom's AP European history course. So you can check that out. In fact, let me just, I think I can share my screen.
Yes, please do. Yeah, please do show us your screen, John.
Okay, and let me try
this. This is actually going to put us in the corner. Oh, wow, there's me.
There he is.
Even wearing the same shirt. I didn't do that on purpose, I swear.
I did that on purpose just for you. There he is. And so what we have actually are video lessons for each of these 9 units for AP European history, including study guides that Tom and I and the team have put together that break down how to look at Renaissance art. These are almost like cheat sheets on each of the main 9 units of AP Euro. And then what's really cool is we also break down how to approach the multiple choice section. There's me. That's just as bad as yours. And that's what I look like the whole video, where I walk through how to actually tackle these multiple choice questions. And by doing the questions, see, making up stuff, and I'm walking through how to tackle these questions and get things right. What's really cool is as you go through the course, we also have drills and practice tests. We have 3 full-length practice tests available for you, which you can print out and take with you. You can take right here inside of our computer and get your multiple choice questions scored. We also, it's really cool when you do a question in one of these drills. Let's say you're taking a drill on on unit 9, right? You're doing the question, you want to see the results. Oh no, it's going to tell you you got the question wrong and explain why you got it wrong. And so the whole course is really designed as a useful way for you to watch videos and learn, study from study guides, complete drills and these kind of sets of questions that help you see where you're at, and learn test techniques and things. So access is good for the entire year. And let me just close my screen share there. Access is good for the entire year. And we have these courses in AP European History, AP US History, AP English Language, and Tom and I are working now on our AP US Gov. And later we're going to have AP English Lit available. So for anyone who's in AP Euro now, and especially juniors who are in APUSH and AP Lang, and seniors, a lot of seniors are in AP Gov and AP Lit. This is a great time of year. This is going to be the most affordable you can get the course at this point of the year at 50% off, and it lasts a few more days. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun for our students, Tom, to balance that formal way of learning content with that really formal way of kind of learning strategies. And like I said, people who enroll now get access to help all year long. And it looks like some people are asking for their questions to be
all right. Yes, yes. And Sam, remember, that's kind of in bad form to ask people to upvote your question, because the whole thing about upvoting is that people are independently deciding that they want this to see the question upvoted. So just don't ask people to upvote your question, because we want that to, no, it's okay. It's okay, Sam. I'm just saying that generally I prefer for people not to ask that, because I want it to be natural. Now, the thing is, how should I format an SAQ to get the highest grade? Now, Fabian, one thing about SAQs is, although that there's, there are some things that we need. For example, that you need to have some sort of claim and some sort of specific evidence to support that claim. Now, I'm not going to use the term thesis, but there does need to be a claim and then some sort of specific evidence to support that. But one thing that I've heard from SAQ readers time and time again is that people don't miss SAQs. SAQ questions because they didn't follow a format. They're much more likely to miss SAQ questions because they didn't know the material. Okay, so the thing is, if you answer the question as it's asked and you provide a piece of specific evidence to support your answer, you're typically good. John, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to say too, because we were just looking at the course, that's the sort of stuff that you and I cover in the course, right? Like how are you supposed to know how to format an SAQ? You're kind of getting used to AP, maybe AP Euro's your first year. Through the Marco Learning course, we walk you through where kind of your formatting and choices matter and where they don't. As you said, the SAQ, it just doesn't matter. If you know the content, you put it down there and you answer the question, you're going to get it right. Whereas on the DBQ and the LAQ, well, your thesis does have to be in that first or last paragraph. You have to make sure that you're very strategically moving through the points in a smart way. And that's what some of the videos that I'm doing in the AP Euro and AP US history course breakdown. So it's always, you think about succeeding in an AP class and succeeding on the AP exam is about what you know, but also about how you perform. Do you know, we started this live stream, we were talking about the best techniques for studying for a chapter test. You got to learn that quickly in the year to get good grades. And for an SAQ and a DBQ, you got to learn how to do that so that you're performing well in class and performing well all year. So again, guys, check out marcolearning.com. That promo code is at 50% off. I'm going to sign out now, Tom, and enjoy the rest of these questions as they come up. But thank you for inviting me along, and it's been really great to chat with all your followers here, and I hope to see more people at Marco Learning.
All right. Well, thank you very much, John, for joining us. And again, marcolearning.com, and use the promo code Marco50 to get 50% off of Marco's course. Okay, so make sure, and that also I'm in Marco's course. How much is Marco Learning? With that, I work with Marco Learning. I'm not sure exactly about that. Go to marcolearning.com and find out. And I'm not withholding information from you. I think that I just don't want to mess up. I think that the price of the course is like $30-something, but I could be okay. So half off the course. Okay, so what you got there? Let's see. So marcolearning.com. If we go to, let's just go into there and take a look. So student courses. All right. So the full course, let's see, AP European History. All right, so let's see. It's just going to take a second to load there. Okay, so yeah, it looks like the course is it's a $79 retail course, but yeah, so that's going to put the course below with the coupon. Okay, so there we go. Okay, very good. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at some more questions. Okay, so okay, so the Reformation, we're not going to do that, okay, because that's just the Reformation. Now, here's the other thing, Walt, let's not spam, okay? So one thing I'm going to go ahead and just note here, you've asked about the Peace of Augsburg. All right. So the Peace of Augsburg, the principle of the Peace of Augsburg, which applied to the Holy Roman Empire, I believe in 1555. It was a few decades after Martin Luther. And remember that Charles V initially, he wanted everybody to be Catholic, that the Holy Roman Empire needs to be all Catholic. And so with that, the Peace of Augsburg, a lot of people weren't cool with that. And so it said, whoever reigns his religion, which meant that the local prince, like there are like 300 local rulers in the Holy Roman Empire. And so what they agree on is whatever the local ruler's religion is, that will be the religion of the people in that area. Okay, so that is the essence of the Peace of Augsburg. One more thing about the Peace of Augsburg, your two choices were Lutheran and Catholic. Okay, so you could choose between being Lutheran or being Catholic. So only two choices there. Now remember, the Peace of Westphalia in 1648 expanded this to include Calvinism as well. But the Peace of Augsburg only had those two things. All right. Can I explain the characteristics of the Italian versus the Northern Renaissance? Krish, I would refer you to my video on that subject. Okay, I would refer you to my video on the Italian Renaissance versus the Northern Renaissance. But I will go ahead and also note here that we want to Italian and Northern Renaissance, but let's see. But basically, just to tell you this, first of all, the Italian Renaissance is seen generally as more individualistic and secular. Think Machiavelli's The Prince, you know, how can I as an individual advance myself? And then the Northern Renaissance, think Erasmus or Thomas More, that it tended to be more Christian inspired and more likely to do social commentary. Okay, so think about Thomas More's Utopia or Erasmus, The Praise of Folly. So more Christian, more socially oriented for the Northern Renaissance. What they had in common, when we think about the commonality, what we have here is when we think about the commonality, we're thinking in terms of that both the Italian Renaissance and the Northern Renaissance, that they are focused on the study of the classics. So whether it's Machiavelli or Castiglione, Petrarch, Thomas More, Erasmus, you know, we're seeing there that, you know, this is something that is, they're all motivated by classical studies. Okay, they're all motivated by classical studies. Now, Ptolemy and Aristotle, remember, these were classical authorities that existed long before the scientific revolution, but they were still very important by the time the scientific revolution came about. Now, Ptolemy was an astronomer who was a fan of the geocentric model of the cosmos. So basically, the Earth is at the center of everything. All right, so that's Ptolemy. Now, of course, remember, Copernicus comes up and he's like, not so much, okay? Heliocentrism. Now, then Aristotle, okay? So Aristotle, of course, was an ancient authority on physics. A couple of things about Aristotle. That Aristotle said that heavier objects fall faster than light objects. You know, think if you had a bowling ball and a feather. Now, Galileo proved Aristotle wrong through empirical evidence, through evidence could be seen. Instead of getting a bowling ball and a sponge, how about a cannonball and a musket ball? Two things that one is heavier than the other, but they're both shaped the same and they both are made of the same material. You drop the cannonball and the musket ball, they both drop and they hit the ground at the same time. Also, Galileo showed, contrary to Aristotle, that objects accelerate due to gravity. These were the experiments he did off the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And so that's something that when we see that Galileo is proving Aristotle wrong on some things. Now, also remember that Aristotle believed that the heavenly bodies were made of a fifth element, that they were made of some kind of spiritual substance. Galileo, empirical evidence through his telescope, he is showing that, okay, actually, they're not made of that. The moon has craters and stuff like that. So these heavenly bodies are actually made of matter. All right. And so as far as that goes, let's see. let's see, Dakota, we have kind of a hybrid of this, that we are looking at having eventually study guides for every topic. Okay, so right now those are being populated, but each unit is going to have going to have a study guide as a whole soon, if it doesn't already. And we're working on getting study guides for the topics, which those will be populated by the time the exam comes along. We'll be adding those to the course throughout the year. Okay, so as far as that goes, let's see. All right, now Adrian, not relevant to AP Euro, but I definitely do plan to do some more videos on the Civil War and the Confederacy, so I'll make sure I know that those are coming out. All right, how do we know which artists to study? Now, Dakota, the main thing is that a lot of times specific artists are not as important as understanding the art movement and then being able to identify some illustrative examples. So it's not going to be so much like, okay, what is this painting? This painting is the creation of Adam by Michelangelo. But how does the creation of Adam by Michelangelo, how does it show, like, how does this typify Renaissance art? So you think about, okay, there's balance. There is, we see the realistic portrayal of human anatomy. We also see that the inspiration was a classical text. It came from the Bible. So we see the humanistic element here. So with that, we've got that. Now, compare the reigns. I don't know how much you're going to get there. Okay, so with that, some of y'all are being like too vague. Some of y'all are getting like way into like, woo, okay, that's we're gonna leave some of those alone. I'm about to cut this short because we're doing a little bit of Q&A. But let me go ahead, Jillian. This is a great question. The Council of Trent's effects and failures. Okay, so this is how to ask a question, not getting like way like too deep in the weeds, and also giving me more than just like a general unit overview, but the Council of Trent. So Jillian wants me to talk about the Council of Trent. Now, I've got a video about the Counter-Reformation, that part of that is the Council of Trent. I've got two principles for remembering the Council of Trent. Remember, this is part of the Catholic Counter-Reformation. Now, first of all, affirmation of Catholic doctrine. Okay, so we see here that the Council of Trent is not going to make any compromises with the Protestants about Catholic doctrine. They issue several anathemas. Okay, anathemas meaning basically curses or condemnations. Let him be anathema if he says this, if he contradicts church teaching on this. So the church does not say our teachings are messed up. But on the other side, where you have the affirmation of Catholic doctrine, you have the reformation of church practice. So things like the sale of indulgences, that's done. Now, the Pope can still issue indulgences, but the Catholic Church isn't going to sell indulgences anymore. So the sale of indulgences is over thanks to the Council of Trent. Another thing the Council of Trent did is it created seminaries for priests, because if you remember, one of the big problems that the Catholic Church was facing was uneducated priests. Okay, so that was a big problem at the time, was having these uneducated priests. And so that was seen to be a problem, to be a big issue, and that was solved by the Council of Trent. So the Council of Trent, again, affirmation of Catholic doctrine, did not change doctrine, but it did make significant alterations in church practice to try to fight some of the corruption in the church. Okay, so with that, I'm going to let's see, we're going to go in now. Adrian, what do you mean about how should we remember Columbus? Okay, I'd like to seek some clarification there, Adrian. If Adrian's still here, I'm not actually sure. It looks like Adrian might have left. Oh, you're in love with the Euro, Sam. Glad to hear that. One thing that I'm going to go ahead, let's go ahead and chat about Columbus, because that's the age of exploration. I think that it's a mistake with any historical figure or movement to try to basically remember somebody as like all good or all evil. It's like Columbus did do something that was extremely daring, okay? And that's something I've actually got an activity that I do with my APUSH students, where we take a proclamation made by President Obama on Columbus Day while he was president, and a proclamation made by President Trump. And both of them agree that Columbus was really a visionary. This is somebody who thought like, hey, I've got this idea to do something that people haven't done before. So, I mean, he was an enterpriser. He was someone who did something that had a great deal of ingenuity. And so that's something that I think is a very important thing there, because we want to, in our own lives, to do something great. So when you just, oh, Columbus was just total like evil, we lose that. Now, the thing is too that, okay, Columbus didn't have a record with his treatment of natives that would get him sainthood. But then again, you look back at how Europeans generally treated people that they ran into, whether that was Columbus, Pizarro, Cortez, Vasco da Gama, any of these people, that, Columbus is not, a lot of times people just want to throw something on Columbus. And, so really, I think that, he was somebody who was a historic figure. But remember that historic figures all have flaws, okay? That anytime we're looking at a historical figure, we are looking at somebody who is a flawed human being, and we shouldn't expect anything else from them but flaws. So when it comes down to it, I think that it's important to make those notes, and realizing that people do things that they're not going to get sainthood over. But when it comes down to it, it's going to be very rare that you're going to run into anybody who lived a completely saintly life. Like even Teresa of Avila, when I was looking into her a little while ago, I realized that she's also got something of a controversial legacy. So it's like even people who are saints end up becoming controversial. So, good luck finding a historical figure that's never going to be remembered with some sort of controversy. And we see here Stewie. Okay, Jack, I guess I'm not a doctor, so it's not, I mean, I love to give shouts out to Paul Stewie. I'm not really a doctor. So with that, I think that, I mean, definitely the plague appears to have come from Asia, because it came from Constantinople to Italy and spread from there. Okay, so saying something about the Mongols probably isn't that far off. Now, I'm not a world historian or a doctor. So with that, I don't know the source, but I do know that it wiped out about 40% of Europe's population in the mid 14th century, and that's nothing to shake a stick at. All right, so changes now I'm not here to do your homework, Ridoban. So with that, now one thing, Madeline, we want to note, the Holy Roman Empire, a big turning point, the big turning point in the Holy Roman Empire is the Peace of Westphalia, 1648. And one of the legacies of the 30 Years' War and the Peace of Westphalia was that you saw a permanent decline in the power of the Holy Roman Emperor. So that is when, after 1648, what you're seeing is, this is what Voltaire encounters in the 18th century, that it's neither holy nor Roman nor an empire. And he's right. And he's especially right after that, okay, after 1648. And he's writing after 1648. But that's the main thing. You want to note it, that 1648 is your big turning point in the power of the Holy Roman Empire as an institution and a force moving things in Europe. Let's see, Nazmi, I have already discussed the Northern. Now, we don't say the Northern and Southern Renaissance. We say the Italian and the Northern Renaissance. Now, also, I've got a video about that. If you put in Italian versus Northern Renaissance, then you will see my video on the subject, okay? So with that, let me just go ahead. Now, one thing I'll note here, Sam, about Louis XIV, the relationship between society and the monarch. Now, one of the things that Louis XIV did, before Louis XIV, the monarch spent most of his time in Paris. So Louis says, no, now my main residence, the headquarters of my court, is going to be at Versailles. So one thing that Louis did is he took the monarchy away from the people, okay? That the monarchy exists separately from the city of Paris. So that's one thing there. And of course, that's something that during the French Revolution, the Women's March on Versailles, they bring the royal family back to Paris, okay? But Louis XIV did remove the monarch from society, and now this is not somebody that people generally see, okay? Let's see. Absolutely. Yeah, that is kind of general of a topic there, Derek. A bit general when we talk about Eastern Europe. That sounds like, because I think that's actually a chapter, if I'm not mistaken, in the McKay text. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, these things we like for them to be kind of short, just to get questions that are out there. But I'm going to try to get on a regular schedule, so y'all stay tuned. Y'all should be. You make sure you subscribe to me on Crowdcast so you can see when I'm broadcasting. Also join my email list at tomritchie.net/euro. Let me go ahead and type that in. HTTP. Got to make sure to do that. tomritchie.net/euro. Make sure if you haven't joined my AP Euro student email list that you get out there and do that. So yeah, I'm actually, for whatever reason, just a little tired. I've been making videos for the citizenship test, and I've been cranking those out. And I think tonight just needs to be kind of a rest night. So I'm going to see about that. And with that, just y'all stay tuned. I will do other broadcasts. We just wanted to kind of show off that Marco stuff. Abby, I've got several videos about the scientific revolution. So y'all take a look at those, and I promise I will be back with with more of these. All right. So glad I can help. And I like coming in doing these like 45-minute kind of Q&A sessions. So y'all stay tuned. There will be more of these. It is always a pleasure. And now I'm going to have to end the broadcast. Maybe I should snap again. Let me try that again. It is always a pleasure.